Hey there, everybody. Fast-talking megastar and indestructible super god Tarbuck Transom here, guest starring on an episode for NotaVampyre.
Yeah, so
Subscribe to my channel. I have lots.
links in the description. But ideally, I've just released a video about growing up and how the movie Hook has framed it in my mind. And growing up is a bit of a topic between us, so we decided to record us discussing it.
Yeah, pretty much all of the Arch has like very strong feelings about the divide between grown-ups and adults and the mistreatment of children and how it's just kind of brushed aside by society and the education system. And oh boy, there's a lot of rabbit holes that we can get lost down. I explicitly did not listen to you recording your last video, so how do you want to kick us off?
I guess, so if I repeat anything from my last video, sorry? But I guess the best place to start is...
Fundraisers were a scam. All right. This
guess.
was going to be an episode.
Okay.
This was going to be a topic that I was going to do on the Arch Plays, which is our discussion channel.
We can still do it.
Yeah, we could still do it, but I'm also bringing it up here as a teaser for that channel. See, fundraisers were a scam. Like, think back for a second at how ridiculously overpriced all of that garbage was and how low quality it was when it actually shipped out. It's just a way to scam money out of people who can't say no to buying things from children.
I'm one of them.
Ugh.
Yeah, no, it always seemed like the tiers of prizes that could be won were always unachievable, especially for someone like me who didn't want to go out and do fundraisers, but you have to at least do at least 10. Okay, fine, who can I bribe in my family to do this stupid fundraiser thing?
Yeah, actually, for the sake of authenticity, do you want me to drop character? Most people who watch my show and my channel and stuff may not realize this, but especially on the Arch Plays and stuff like that, I'm doing a bit, all the time.
I think honestly, yeah, we should.
Alright. But seriously, for as long as I could remember, I was always captivated by media that showed people listening to people my age at the time, and what I would now call kids, which is the reason that captured my imagination so much is that it was such a rare thing. You would be brushed aside like an object, like just the mad ravings of a magic 8-ball is how seriously people took you whenever you said anything. And so the idea that the things that I was saying was right and that I was actually right about and kept being proven right by history but no one would pay attention to, all of a sudden in this wish fulfillment fantasy thing. Eight-Legged Freaks is the first example of that comes to mind. The kid is like, guys, can you please just listen? And the adults actually do just listen. And it works out because they put aside their adultly prejudices against anybody who's younger than them. And
yeah, upon reflection, Home Alone 3 and 4 were pretty on point with the adults don't listen to kids. Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, a lot of time with kids...
There's Home Alone 4?
Yeah, it's not that good, I don't think. But a lot of the time, yeah, kids are just saying inane stuff, but that doesn't mean you should teach them to think just because you're a kid, what you have to say doesn't matter, because you haven't reached some sort of arbitrary checkpoint.
And that checkpoint moves all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Think back. Have you ever heard someone say college kids? Those kids are
I think
in their 20s.
Yeah, the new thing is, those millennials. You know, millennials are 20 to 40 right now.
Yeah, the millennial generation is from 1999 to 1981.
Yeah, so...
But it's not even just that, because the idea of just a kid when they're in their early 20s has been around forever. If you watch old movies and...
Well, no, even still, college party movies still go on we're still kids, these are still kids, so all these weird antics they're doing, it's okay because we are kids.
It's the ongoing trend of anybody who is older than you dismisses you automatically. And I hate that. Why is it so hard to just take people seriously?
I think now would be a good time to go into your personal experience with, I guess, being a kid and I guess what people used growing up to you as, like what that meant, what they meant by it.
Alright, so when I was growing up, in quotes, people would say growing up to mean stop doing what you're doing, no matter what it was. Everything that they didn't like was something that you would grow out of. Like animation. I still am an animation hound. We just watched Thumbelina the other day, and it's a terrible movie, but Don Bluth's animation is immaculate. Like, anybody who dumps on rotoscoping has no idea what they're talking about, because, like, here, let's put a little clip in there, or maybe not. Like, look at that, like, leg turn. You see how supernaturally realistic that is? It has such a fluidity that it's just not captured, because that all has to be explicitly created, and the sparkles there in the wings, that has to be created, and it's a higher level of existence, almost. I hate live-action shows, by and large, because they're all the same mundane crap that is just regurgitated onto themselves forever.
To be fair, I do not endorse that opinion. I like a lot of live-action shows.
Yeah, I mean, I like Degrassi.
Yeah, right. I think I've mentioned Degrassi a few times on this channel.
Probably.
And I've noticed it been said that no one actually believes that animation or cartoons are just for kids anymore. Willy Orchard being one of them, and no, there's still people who do. His mother, actually.
It's because all the people who used to dismiss animation out of hand, they're all still alive.
Yeah, no, they didn't go anywhere. They just aren't on the internet most of the time.
But I'm going to say very emphatically right now, if you don't take animation seriously, I don't take you seriously. Like,
yeah.
the ease with which you brush aside animation is the ease with which I brush aside all of your opinions, regardless of content.
Yeah, it's like people who dismiss the romance genre because who could be serious about romance? So you watched Hook with me.
Yeah.
What do you think of their opinion on growing up and their framework for how to do it right?
It's been an awful long time. If I have to reach back into my memory and like try to dredge that back up from what must have been a whole 6 months ago.
To be fair, it was longer than 6 months ago. I think it was one of the early films that I showed you because it's just that integral to me.
Mm-hmm. And the reason we were able to connect on that level so much is that we had similar ideas about what growing up was when it was done wrong.
Yeah, we've had no shortage of examples.
Uh-huh. I, as a child, would live in essentially the fear of death over this time that was foretold when I would stop caring about anything important, give up and die inside, and then become essentially a machine who is running out the clock, and that's the only thing left to my existence. I never wanted all of my decisions to be done and over with. Thanks, Mask, for that phrasing. I never wanted to be closed in heart and mind to new possibilities, and that's exactly what growing up has always meant to me, because that's anytime anybody ever mentioned what growing up is, that is the context that caused them to mention it in the first place, is you're going to lay all of this aside one day. Well, you know what? When I became a man, I put away childish things, including the fear of childishness and the desire to be very grown up. C.S. Lewis.
Yeah, it's like people stagnate. They stop at the middle school or late elementary school level of, okay, well, I gotta act like a big kid now, and that's just their lives, as though they never grew past that very immature sentiment, and that's just who they are now. They never got to the point of realizing the good and beneficial parts of being a kid. And they internalize this social stigma of appearing young and childish.
That's the reason that people hate Pinkie Pie.
Yeah, but then they ignore all of the really good things that she does and that only she could do.
there's so many lessons about how to be from that. Or I guess we're supposed to be talking about Hook, so like
Yeah. So
I have to make everything about ponies.
So specifically in Hook, I explained it in my last video, but when the movie starts, Peter Banning, who used to be Peter Pan, has grown into this guy who doesn't really care much for his family. Like, he provides for them financially and such, but he's not there emotionally. He gets wrapped up in his job, which is a kind of topic on his own. He's a very shark-like lawyer, and it's to the point where he doesn't put enough weight in being there for his kids or the things that they need from him, like being at his son's baseball games. And whenever they rightfully get upset with him over this, he puts a band-aid over it, just says, I promise I'll come to the next game. I promise I'll come to every game next season. Just silly things like that. And it's to the point where the kids are like, your words are empty. And that's the type of person that we're talking about when we say those who are dead inside.
Yeah, everything they care about is just kind of a waste of time. Ironically, it's the exact same criticism that they would have of people like us.
I was just about to say the exact same thing. It's the people who say that the kids on Degrassi, they don't have real concerns, but they are those people. They're doing the thing that they're complaining about.
Yeah, if I can put my Tarbuck hat on for a sec. Look, if you're watching this and you're over the age of 20, alright? When's the last time you had a conversation about something that wasn't the ins and outs of daily life? Something that was not like, what did you see on the news? Or, how is the weather? Man, my job sure is hard. Shut the hell up. Nobody cares. You are wasting time. That doesn't matter. They all talk about that, but it's just to pass the time. That is the verbal equivalent of that little spinny wheel that shows up on your computer, telling you that everything is loading and waiting and processing. You're just trying to move your life along as quickly as possible.
And to be fair, it's not to say that those conversations don't have a place in our lives. Sometimes they can be...
I am absolutely saying that those conversations don't have a place in our lives. Like, you want to talk about the weather? Look outside. That's the end of the conversation about the weather. Shut the fuck up.
No. To be fair, I think there's a time and place for those things, but what often happens is we get wrapped up in those. And I can speak from personal experience because there are days where I really hate my job, and that's all I can talk about. And if I'm not careful, I'm gonna drive myself nuts being wrapped up in this one thing and closing myself off to the multitude of other things I can be thinking about, like the job that I do enjoy.
Yeah, to plug in a recent video of mine, using tools makes you a cyborg. You have an integration with them in the same way that your clothes, like this awesome Radcon shirt that we just got in the mail, become a part of you. All the thoughts that I keep not in my head, I keep in my phone. That's why my phone is a part of me. Discuss amongst yourselves. That's an interesting topic of conversation. That's something real to talk about.
It's like taking the subreddit shower thoughts and having those yourself. Mm-hmm. Not reserving it for when you're in the shower or when you're literally not doing anything, but having time throughout the day where you can reflect on these things that we take for granted in life. And I think that's kind of what Hook was trying to inch people towards, while also telling a what if Peter Pan grew up story.
Getting back to the point that I was making, Peter, in that movie, is carried along in a series of distractions and inane nonsense, being kept away from the things that, if you stopped him and were like, what's really important, he would tell you what he thinks is important, but he's lying. His life doesn't actually reflect the things that he would tell you, like his kids and stuff. No, he has reorganized his life in service of his job, which is supposed to serve his life, not the other way around.
There's a gap between his ideal self and the self that he is. And the only thing that can remove him from that line of thinking is, unfortunately, his kids being kidnapped. Because even his own son and his wife trying to talk to him about this couldn't pull him away.
And that rings true to me, especially because I kind of am quick to give up on people who have become pirates, because it takes something really drastic to pull somebody out of that loop of inane bullshit.
Yeah, and I think the scariest thing about it is that it's easy to become that. It's easy to get lost in just day-to-day life.
Looking back on my life right now, I feel like I've succeeded, because you're right, it does require conscious effort. And I made a lot of promises, like, I'm not doing this, but I kept reminding myself all the time. And I kept those promises. I do actually stop and listen. I do actually remember what it was like and try to defend people who are saying, no, you don't understand, it's not fair. Because it isn't fair. Hey, here's an interesting thought. You know why young adult dystopias are so popular? Why are all, like, books for young adults all about dystopias? Gee, maybe it's because they are forced into a system that they had no input on. Every second of their lives is regimented by people who, if they disagree with the decisions made by you, are backed up by the law and the government, etc., and will compel you by force to do what they want, and you have no ability to seek recompense. You cannot do anything for this preservation of your own sanity that they do not permit you to do. If you tried to seek any what we would consider as adults to be basic freedoms, you can't do it. When's the last time you had to ask permission to use the bathroom? Like, basic bodily functions are outside of the field of autonomy of kids everywhere, and everybody just acts like this is fine. Like this doesn't even matter. Because to them it doesn't. Because children aren't people, they're pets. I sink down that rabbit hole very quickly. So, it doesn't make it onto recording because Mask only likes audio recordings, but like you have seen us just pick up the old topic and complain about how children are property.
I think in our personal lives we've kind of worn it down, but at least having it documented somewhere would be good, because frankly, it doesn't get talked about really at all, except for in kids' media. Remember those movies about kids going above and beyond adult expectations and basically acting as the savior of the day? Well, that's the only time that kids get to do that. Other than in their media, they're just things, objects that you take care of until you kick them out of your house. Or at least, that's how a lot of people look at them, even if you personally don't. And so, it's kind of important to, every once in a while, get a reminder that they're people too. Just because they didn't cross some sort of arbitrary threshold yet, doesn't mean that they're basically like your cat or dog.
One of the primary functions of school is, do you know why the schooling system is so bad at actually teaching people stuff that they will remember 10 years from now? Because the point of school is just to have a place to dump your property when you're not using it.
Now, to be fair, again, I don't fully agree with what he said. There are some cases where people are actually trying to prep you for the real world, and parents expect
far between.
And parents actually trust in the school system to get you to that point. But school hasn't really done that in quite a while. It preps you for college. And as anyone who's gone to college and then had to step out into the workforce can tell you, they're no better off than the day they entered school. The only thing that they really learned was how to recognize social cues and act in society. That's about it.
One of the big reasons that I was always so afraid of growing up is I saw so many people cross that threshold and they could never come back. There's no opening up a mind again once it's been closed. You're just over. That's why I have such an ease of writing people off, is because you can't pull them back from that edge. Once they sink down into that place, there is no coming back.
The story that I told in my previous video was of my best friend in high school, who I was seriously close to, and I don't get close to people. one day we were talking about parenting styles, and he told me that he was going to expect his kids to do as he said because he's the parent. And that moment really hurt, kind of, because that was the exact thing that he hated his mom doing. All throughout his life, his mom would always be like, do this, do that. I don't need to tell you why to do it, just do it. I'm the parent. And then here he is, planning to do the exact same thing. It was jarring, as though he couldn't recognize the issue with that sentiment, even though he personally experienced the negative sides of it.
And across such a short window of time, that's incredible.
No.
I would absolutely snap on that person immediately. I would, hold the phone, stop everything, think about what you said, and if they don't actually come to a good, useful conclusion about it, congratulations, you're dead to me forever. Deleted.
To be fair, I did not do that with this person.
Well, I'm a lot meaner than you are.
Yeah, no. I'm not good, I'm not bad, I'm just nice.
I like to say that I'm mean but good, or maybe that's not true. Maybe I'm just a bad person. Listen, there's going to be a lot of people who are watching this because we've seen your demographics and they skew way young. There's going to be a lot of people who are watching this that are still in the life. People who are living under somebody or in some way being treated like a child. Even if you're, in your 30s, you just happen to be in a life place where you can't be fully self-sufficient. Look, without some kind of snapping wake-up call, the people who are above you in that, social rank will never realize what they're doing. They are a lost cause, and you have to alter your expectations of a relationship based on that. They will never come around, ever, because having grown up, having become a pirate, means that door is closed forever. And I'm trying to put this in the most dire terms possible because it is a dire situation. But I need you to know that you can win. You can survive as yourself. The metaphor we always reach for is the ship of Theseus, or Washington's axe. This is the axe of George Washington. The head was changed 3 times and the handle was changed 5 times. You don't have to be that. You don't have to be somebody who all of the parts of your personality keep getting replaced over time until there's nothing that was important to you that's left. You can be yourself, but a better version of yourself in the future. You can hold on to that part of yourself that you value so much. Hopefully, if you haven't been lost already, it's not just that you're unworldly. The things that are important to you can stay important. They are worth caring about. That's why you care about them now.
It's something that you need to be always vigilant of, but as we see in the movie, it can be done. We see Peter go from this terrible version of what it is to be an adult to someone who remembers childhood, remembers that childish things do sometimes matter, and yet is able to operate in the adult world. Sure, he tosses his phone and basically says, screw you, to his job, but his job was awful anyways, and he was able to see that now that he's become the ideal version of a grown-up, or at least our ideal version. The version that doesn't suck.
So I guess what we're really saying is, if we hold out, I know we can make it through.
Yeah, a bit, yeah. That, and don't become a pirate.
Yeah, if you pay close attention to the choices that you're making and where your values are going, and think back to what would the younger me say about what I'm doing right now, you can keep all those promises you made to yourself when you were 10.
And again, just to reiterate, yeah, there's a lot of things that we say or think as a kid that aren't really realistic. I thought I could fly away with Peter Pan. But that doesn't negate the things that you can still accomplish.
And that there is a real lesson to take away from that, too. Why do you want to fly away with Peter Pan? Probably because the life that you find yourself in is terrible.
Well, not just that, but also exploring why this captivated you as a kid. Yeah, home life was terrible, but upon reflection, it also shows that I had an likely still have a love for adventure and traveling and doing something new. And that's not something to scoff at, because it's something that I developed as a kid. Especially if I look deep in myself and find that's still true.
While flying away to Neverland might literally be unrealistic, there's something in there that you really do want. And it might be the lack of constraint. It might be wanting to see amazing places. There are a lot of reasons that you can draw out of those childhood wishes with a little bit of examination, and it isn't really that hard to see what to phrase in your adult form why kid you wanted those things.
Exactly, like all the jobs that you said you were going to have when you were a kid. Well, even if you realize you don't specifically want that job now, what aspect of that job captivated you?
Yeah, if you wanted to be a firefighter, it's dangerous, there's a lot of action, but there's a lot of camaraderie, and you are saving people. How can you add those elements to your current life? You can be a volunteer firefighter pretty easily, and if you're not in good shape, it'll put you in shape.
Yes, I think I've said all I've had to say.
Yeah, we may have lost a snippet in there when the camera cut out and we had to restart it, but it was only like 10 minutes, whatever.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for consuming this video, and thanks for stopping by to say hi to this guy.
Yeah, and if you liked our back and forth here and the impassioned rants that I get on, you can see more of that in character on the Arch Plays, which is our discussion channel. I've been told that I look like a cross between Gilligan's Island and Beale Bailey whenever I wear this hat, because I have like almost no eyes. The way that I do it is I can just very, very barely see the top of the camera with that. Anyway, if you want to get more of my great mug and the things that I do, I also do woodworking instructionals and stuff like that on my channel, with way less personality, honestly.
Thank you again, and until next time.
Bye.